Hello, it's Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Biajulu Ugbo. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. We thank God. I'm grateful to God that I'm alive today and I'm here. I'm back to work.
How was market?
Market was amazing.
Fantastic.
I want to thank all of you for your support.
Fantastic.
All of you ladies just came
Like
there, showed support. Your fans came because of you people. My fans came as well. Nima opened the market for me. Miriam came about twice. Murayo came twice. Tokbe came. Everybody just came, and my boots, that line, they were feeling the impact of the ladies of your views.
Wow.
They were feeling that impact, like, okay, you work together. The only thing I realized was that it wasn't, there was no much noise about it. So a lot of people were not aware that the trade fair was going on. Yes. So I think subsequently, this organizers need to plan it better, give a lot of time for advertisement so that people can come in and shop. But it was...
I think people don't know the kind of things you can get at trade fair. When you hear trade fair, you just think a few people are just going there. But the truth is you can get a lot of all the equipment for your businesses. There's so many things from all over.
A lot of machines.
So many machines there. So it's an opportunity for you to actually get things at an affordable price. I got a few things really affordable.
I think it's a Lagos thing because if you grew up in Jos, when you hear trade fair, you plan your money, plan your time towards trade fairs. I think Lagos, we just have so many things going on. You don't realize the impact. Yes, every day is trade important.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
How are you doing, Nima?
I'm fine.
You went to go and you went to buy all sorts of these beads. I mean, see different colors on you these days.
Don't mind me, Jerry. House of Substance.
Nice. How are you?
For the trade fair, I wanted the program to finish so people don't get discouraged to go to the booth. Buying the tickets, going from gate 1 to C, just packed at a different spot. That was poor organizing. And there was nobody to direct you, so you keep walking. If you're in Lagos for the first time and you've never been to the TBS, it will be stressful. For somebody who grew up in Lagos, who knows the TBS well, I suffer.
No, it wasn't stressful for me, though.
It was.
I just drove to the gate.
I got to the gate.
Yes, I bought my 300 ticket and I parked right there.
Okay, that means the day you came, they started selling tickets.
It was the same day.
It was the same day.
Because that morning I packed, I wanted to buy it. They said, no, you have to go all the way to gate C.
Kidding me?
Yes, maybe
And I had already paid for parking.
Yes,
I paid the security guy for parking. So I had to leave my car there and start trekking. Bought the ticket and trekked all the way.
I get to figure it out.
And so I didn't want to...
I came in the afternoon of that same day and I didn't have any issues.
They should figure it out because...
The first day I got there, I didn't have enough cash on me. I think it was 300. I had only 250. I was now at the gate. Please, somebody give me 15.
You're kidding me.
And then someone was nice enough and gave me 15 naira.
How are you doing though? Come to you.
I wanted to shout out to my elder sister. Today is her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Khadija Emo Shokek Akoki Asani. So my immediate elder.
Nice.
Every November 15. Get jail. I wish you all the goodness.
Fantastic. Happy birthday.
How
you doing, Mariam?
Fine. I was just thinking, this Eleshoba, I haven't seen it. And one of the reasons I had not seen it was I wanted to give Felicia Shoyinka all the respect that is due him. And I had to go and look for the book. So I spent my weekend reading the book first.
Okay.
So I'm like, I want you to know that I read that book first before I watched the movie. Just my respect for who you are.
Amazing.
Yes.
Now you enjoy the movie better.
Nice.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. This is a very, very interesting. So the Christmas season is coming, and I'm trying to do some shopping. I'm trying to shop before Christmas so that it doesn't get too expensive, but it's just equally expensive. I tried to buy ram, but trying to stop eating cow. I'm trying to eat ram. It's expensive.
No, ram is expensive.
It will be.
I know ram is expensive, but until you are buying it yourself, you now appreciate the
I don't know
expense.
how in house I say buy that, but it doesn't have alki. It's not.
Does it have meat?
It doesn't have. It has meat, but it's not. It's
Quality meat.
it's quality meat, but it's
quantity.
not. There's no quantity.
No, the full pot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I already want my people in the house.
You can
But
just
this
cut it into 5.
Last till the end of December. I told them.
How many
rams? I bagged it into. I have 8 bags.
Okay.
Right. These 8 bags. Each bag should do at least 1 or 2 weeks.
I
told them.
Wait. 8 bags to the full round.
Your
Is that your house?
8 personal bags.
Is that your hotel?
I told them end of December. I'm not buying any no meat.
Wait, is it 1 meat per week?
But I don't care. I'm just saying. So yesterday they put out the first bag yesterday, and I divided it into 2. So this thing must last this whole week.
Your dreams.
It must last. Anyways, it's Tuesday. So much happening. Listen, we have to just be very, very prudent in our spending these days. It's not easy. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Abdusalami panel, rising violence threatens polls. Abiodun inaugurates 2.35 kilometer Arepo Journalist Estate Road. Fake news, NBC finds Arise TV 2 million naira. Why I invited Buhari, Obi Kokonso, others by Wike. Poverty doubled over Obi, says Soludo. Petrol subsidy not sustainable, Ipman insists. Oyo Ogun to end kidnapping on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And Buhari orders unjust for Tinubu Shetima campaign kickoff. Okay, who's starting?
Okay, once you take the NBC fine.
Okay, so, NBC fine, yes, go ahead.
So the NBC's DG has signed the letter dated November 13th. So Arise TV fining them 2 million naira for breaching the broadcasting code. They had purportedly carried the news that they have a letter purportedly signed by the PRO of INEC, and that letter, they said the INEC was investigating the presidential candidate of the APC, which INEC has come out to deny that, this is fake news. And so they said, based on the fact, aside the fact that, Arise TV has come out to apologize for that news, they also had been doing sensitization during this period towards election, expecting news houses to be more responsible in carrying news, and so because of that, they have written a letter to them of the fine.
Okay. So the special advisor on security to Governor Seyi Makinde, CP Fatai, has said that Oyo and Ogun states were working hand in hand to end the activities of kidnappers on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. So he said they've made a lot of progress to that effect. That is, two states were also putting measures in place to ensure that incidents like kidnapping do not happen again on that axis. He went ahead to state that they are maintaining deployment of security personnel to the axis, and the two states are collaborating to streamline the people they are going to be employing to handle that. They said they had a recent attack, and they've been deliberating extensively to ensure that they are working hand in hand. Their securities are collaborating to make sure that that place is safe for commuters who are going to be taking that road. Yeah. That's basically what the news is about.
Okay, so the General Abdusalam Abubakar led National Peace Committee is calling on all candidates to rein in their spokespeople and their supporters, that they should be cautious when they make statements or the sort of, rhetoric that they are making during this electioneering period, the campaign and electioneering period, so that it is violent-free. The NPC is actually expressing concern because of the wave of violence that's happening at political rallies, and they're saying a lot has to do with the intemperate language, intimidation, and outright violence by party supporters. And he says that this is not working according to the peace accord that the candidates had signed, at the very beginning of this period, to make sure that this campaign period and the elections going forward will be done in a peaceful way. But calling all Nigerians and saying that many Nigerians are also, disappointed with the attitude that some of these spokespeople and supporters have. And so just calling all of us, I think this is the message for all Nigerians, that we should be careful with our choice of words and how we respond to each other, and even the activities that we engage in during this period, to make sure it's peace and free and fair. Peaceful.
So IPMAN, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Mike Oshui, who is the National Operations Controller, said yesterday that subsidy cannot be sustainable. According to him, he referenced the fact that our 2023 budget of over 20 trillion naira has a deficit of 10 trillion, which they're hoping they can fund through other sources. He's saying specifically that subsidy is killing. Says subsidy regime does not allow competition, while monopoly is the language of petrol in Nigeria. But he said that smuggling petrol is a thriving business because of the huge profit involved. And he also said that subsidy kills efficiency in the procurement and supply chain of petrol business operations and deprives governments of huge revenue. So it must be removed as soon as possible. We all knew this, but for some reason, politics is not allowing this decision to hold. Let's move on quickly now to The Punch. Soludo attacks Obi again, says ex-governor cannot win. Resist government control. NPAN advises media practitioners. Driver arrested for crushing Ekiti policemen to death. All theft. FG arraigns 16 foreigners, detains vessel. Tinubu's victory certain, says Lalong as campaign begins. INEC office attacks worry UK, US opposes rigging. Organized private sector gets 9 trillion naira agenda for federal government. Half pay, ASUL says lecturers, intellectuals, not casual workers. Military places 95 million naira bounty on 19 bandits and kingpins.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have that story. So the Defense Headquarters has declared no fewer than 19 bandits leaders wanted. The Military High Command also placed a 5 million naira bounty on each of these bandits to encourage Nigerians to come forward with any credible information that could lead to their arrest. Also, this list has been confirmed by the Director of Defense Information, Major General Jimmy Akpo. And some of the names and pictures and states of origin of these 19 bandits have also been released. Amongst them, there's a prominent one, I think we've heard his name quite often, Bello Turji. He's from Zamfara State, and he's regarded as one of the most dangerous bandits, kingpins. He's involved in the alleged killing of about 200 people, including women and children, and so many others have been named, and also sort of atrocities that they have done against Nigerians. And so we hope that with this, it would really help in bringing about the arrest and prosecution.
ASU has since called off the strike since October, but ASU drama is still not finished. So the Academic Staff Union of University of Lagos branch, headed by Dr. Dele Ashiru, will be staging what they call a protest rally titled Casualization of Intellectualism in Nigeria. And they're saying they're using this to, according to them, expose the activities of the Minister for Labour and his ways of Minister for Labour and Employment and his position on the half salary thing, saying that they've turned them to casual workers. They're trying to make them casual workers. And the Punch also says that other university associations, other members of ASU in other universities will also be staging the same protests at different dates, but that of UNILAG will be happening today. I think that, the federal government, since ASU has called off this strike, they've decided to settle out of court, should make this thing seamless. This wahala is just unending. Okay,
so Governor of Anambra State, Charles Soludo, was saying recently that Peter Obi does not have the structure to win the elections, and obviously he's been condemned by lots of Peter Obi's supporters. And he said on Thursday that Peter Obi's investments in Anambra State that were credited to him were actually next to nothing. Those are his exact words. And of course, that angered quite a lot of Obi supporters. He was also alleging that a few of his followers who were killed recently were probably done by these same supporters who were angry, and which ignited the anger in lots of these supporters against him. And some of his followers were killed. About 5 of them, he said. He described the attacks on him as an exhibition of desperation, intolerance. He noted that the attempt to bully anyone who expresses slightest of dissent was reprehensible. So, and this is something that's been echoed across board, that we all should be allowed to have a dissenting view across.
Yeah, so human interest story. 2 policemen lost their lives on Monday when a truck driver crushed them in the Adebayo area of Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State. So according to the story, they said they were conveying themselves to work on the motorcycle when the driver, the truck driver rammed into them at a spot where the traffic was being diverted for reconstruction purposes. And, you know, as that happened, the 2 policemen died immediately. So I think the driver lost control because he was trying to divert, and so they have arrested the police, the truck driver, and the 2 policemen have been taken to the morgue. It's just so sad.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with our reviews. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Paper, sun, please. Okay,
Stay
Vanguard,
tuned.
please.
Your View will be right
And
back.
the Tribune.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's your view. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present.
Thanks for staying with us. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Anger as underage dead listed in new voter register. Underage and dead are listed in the voter register. Soldiers continue onslaught against Abia community. PDP crisis will surprise Nigerians, says Saraki. Afenifere to federal government, don't let Nigeria become another Afghanistan. Why Buhari ordered mass skills acquisition for youth, says Naseni boss. Buhari meets Tinubu Adamu as APC presidential campaign kicks off in Jos. Peace Committee decries intemperate language, intimidation, outright violence. Fresh terrorism charge. Nnamdi Kanu shuns court, trial adjourned indefinitely. Media stakeholders agree to appoint ombudsman as step towards regulation.
Okay, so Nigerians took to Twitter this year on Monday to express their unhappiness, displeasure over the irregularities found in the voter registration register that had been released online by INEC. There were so many names here and voter identification numbers listed in this particular report. They're talking about underage-looking voters, someone who was born in 1949, and that person's name appeared 3 times with 3 voter identification numbers. There's so many different complaints that people were making. Anyway, from INEC office, the statement was made by the National Commissioner and Chairman Information and Voter Education, Mr. Festus Okoye. He was here yesterday, but also had said that Nigerians should seize the opportunity to scrutinize the register and draw the Commission's attention to any corrections in their personal particulars and any malicious registrations, multiple registrations, non-Nigerians, or any persons not qualified to be on the register. And in the end, he says that this job is a collective responsibility for all Nigerians to participate in. But Nigerians are still upset. According to the report, that a few of them were saying that as far as they're concerned, this makes the register invalid because we have just so many of these, irregularities. But I guess INEC is on it, and just saying that if you see any irregularity, just point it out to the Commission, and they will do their job.
Well, what was the process of, compiling that register? Shouldn't the computer be taking out names that are double, triple?
They've spent so much time doing that already. Maybe if you...
I know they did actually cancel some. Okay.
The House of Reps have voted a motion to appropriate 200 billion naira in the 2023 budget before the National Assembly presently to what they call ecological projects across the country. And they've also voted a 5 billion naira into the already created special ecological fund account of each of the 36 states and the FCT to mitigate the immediate effect of the present flood that is raging the country across board. They've also allowed the executive to submit 100 billion or more for the supplementary budget for that effect as well. I think that these efforts that we're seeing, as soon as they become executed, we must see the effect of it. Not that the monies will be given to the states, especially this 5 billion that is called the special one, be given to the states, and then we will not see effect. You then see flood, and everybody will be shouting government.
So use it judiciously. So the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Organization, Afenifere, are expressing concern on the frequency of kidnap incidents happening in the southwest, especially in the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. And they are saying that they know that it's been happening before, but it seems like the bandits and the kidnappers are doubling up. And so they are calling on the federal government to take it more seriously and ensure that they help to solve the issues of insecurity in those states. They're also calling on the governors to work together. They can pull forces together, go to the federal government and tell them that they need to equip Amoteco as a regional security outfit to ensure that they help their people, because it's government's responsibility to help in securing lives and property. And that was basically the call that they were making. Okay, let's move on quickly to Vanguard. Terrorism Defense Headquarters declares Bello Sergi Adio Aliero, 17 others wanted. Nigeria Air FG may cede fewer top positions to Ethiopian Airlines after the Vanguard report. Debt servicing likely to be higher by end of December, says DMO DG. Kanu absent as court adjourns trial indefinitely. Media, owners, journalists, stakeholders agree on code of conduct and co-regulation ombudsman. And insurance claims payments recovers hits 174.8 billion naira. Okay, which story started in Vanguard? We can start the Nigeria Air. So we know we've been taking the story, how Nigeria Air is set to commence operations. And now the report is saying that there are indications the federal government may cede fewer top management positions to Ethiopia Airlines in the new national carrier. Nigeria Air. And this further development is what has been, giving the delay why they have not taken off already. And it seems like there's been this projection that maybe governments will be taking more positions in this particular Nigeria Air, and so a lot of people are skeptical about it.
Okay, let's move on now to the Nigerian Tribune. Peter Obi knows he can't win, says Soludo. Just agog as APC flags off in Tinubu presidential campaign today. Afenifere expresses concern over incessant kidnapping in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. 96 died in Bayelsa flood. 12 million people displaced, says government. Africa tops was undiagnosed diabetes, says WHO. Peace accord under threat. Abdulsalami Kuka raised alarm. Defense headquarters declares 19 terrorists wanted. Places 5 million naira bounty on each. And 23.7 million Nigerians in 26 states to be in food crisis between June and August 2023. I was going to take the story earlier about the media. Critical stakeholders within the media had a meeting in Lagos yesterday and they came up with about 41-point code of ethics for Nigerian journalists, especially as we move towards the elections. The stakeholders noted that the Nigerian media has a rich track record of rooting for public welfare and protecting the underdogs. They also said that the tradition holds that the practice of journalism should be socially responsive and responsible through pursuit of true fairness, decency, and credible accounts of issues in the public interest. Consequently, they are also willing to subscribe to the following ethical principles, which was listed in the article. It's quite interesting. And they also agreed on an ombudsman who's going to be a representative from within the media to also be with government. So the idea is that currently only the government are the ones that appoints who heads these major various agencies, media agencies. So they're saying that they have to be people within the media industry to also be working with the government. I mean, this was an interest. I was happy that most of the media stakeholders, almost all, they were all represented, and that was really good for them to have this kind of meeting once in a while to discuss to reiterate the need of professional journalism in Nigerian media. Yeah. Okay, anything else in
Yes, I got Bayelsa is also giving like a report of the casualties that the Bayelsa State casualties that they experienced given the flood. And they said that they recorded 96 deaths during the recent flood. They also said that 12,000 persons were housed at the Oxbow Lake IDP camp. And about 1.2 million people were displaced across the state. And this is from the Bayelsa State Emergency Management. But this was also said at the going away or farewell party of those who were staying at the camp. So the camps have been emptied right now. Everyone was, they were all ready to go home during this particular event. And they also said that there had been really high cost of transportation within Yenagoa in Bayelsa State because of shortage of petroleum products. But the governor had gone ahead to get over 410,000 liters of PMS. And so transportation prices crashed from 1,000 naira to 188 naira in 2 days. So just a report from Bayelsa and how they're doing, and the government talking about how they're going to stamp on black markets during this period too.
Okay, I think that's all we can take on Front Page Review. And we come back, move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Esther, you're late again.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's your view. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's your view. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw ether material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Thanks for staying with us. So Nigerians have been talking about the rise and fall of the Naira in recent times. Many people have been very worried about the fact that the Naira dropped about a couple of weeks ago to almost hitting 900 Naira to the dollar. In the last few days, Naira has strengthened as a result of various factors. On the morning today, we're going to be speaking with Mr. Chukwuma Okenwa. He is the economist and CEO, Lead Network, to help Nigerians understand what is happening and how they can actually ensure they protect and they do what they can to also protect the Naira. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good to have you on the show. So,
thank you.
So usually around town, you're hearing people saying, hey, that Naira safe. Magic. Can you believe that Naira is now 900 to the dollar? You know, there's always that general conversation on how Nigeria's Naira is continually depreciating. In the last few days, it has somewhat strengthened and come back to 700 and something, about 720 or so in recent times. Could you tell Nigerians what led to this? Many people always feel it's because of the rate of the bureau de change, or politicians are holding dollars and they come to them. What are the real reasons and what are the real factors that are causing these flip-flop of the Naira, and how can we ensure that we prevent this?
Very simple. It is just a function of demand and supply. We know that a few weeks ago, the CBN announced about the Naira redesign, leading to the rise in the demand for dollars. And for the very first time, Naira went to an all-low of all times at 910 Naira to $1. But then, after some time, of course, the government had to sit to reposition the system according to Le Chatelier's principle. When a system in equilibrium is disturbed, the system has to adjust itself in such a way as to annul the effect of the change. So the government strategic team had to look into that and find out that the only way, actually, and two ways to address this particular issue would be first to increase the supply of dollars in the market, and second also to be able to contain those that are manipulating the market. Because we know that unlike in many great nations where you also have the bureau de change operating alongside with the official rate available at the central bank, we know that the disparity between the official rate and the rates on the street, as long as Nigeria is concerned, the margin is quite very, very high.
Yeah.
And of course, we saw the government step into action, and I would say that apart from increasing a great deal of supplies, that the fact that the EFCC raided the bureau de change operators, causing some of them to go into hiding, and including those that will come with the Naira for an exchange. And I think that is even largely the reason, because people who were coming to demand for the Naira also know that there's no way the government can be coming for the bureau de change operators, and your own self will be left scot-free if you actually caught in that shop with bags of Ghana must go, trying to exchange your Naira for dollars. So that greatly contributed. Okay. And there was less demand in the supply of dollars, and consequently that influenced the rise in the value of the Naira.
Okay, Mr. Okenwa, I want to know if you understand the reason the banks do not give Naira to business owners, people who really need to transact, give dollar to business owners, people who really need to transact, at the official rates, forcing them to go and source for at the black market. Do you know the reason behind it? And do you think it's one of the reasons we have this issue of inflation up and down?
First, when you talk about the reason, I think the government of Nigeria has not been able to position the economy to earn enough dollars such that it's sufficient to make it available largely through the official windows of NAFEX for investors, for importers, for exporters. And then secondly also, many businesses actually choose to go through the parallel market so that government will not be able to track all of its income and all of its interests. So I think sometimes we may not blame the government or the central bank. Some business persons also feel that if I can actually bypass the official market, get it through the Bureau de Change operators, it's actually the black market like we call it, because most of the things you do there are concealed and cannot be reflected as long as government is known. But we know that for every $1 you assess through the official market, certainly there has to be a record for it. And most business persons do not want that. But I think the government can actually begin to address all of this, with using several strategies. Because at the moment, sometimes there's not enough incentives for businesses to gladly pay their tax to the government. And I think it's a strategy the government needs to rework as part of the economic template. Let businesses be happy to do business with the government. It is only then that we can collectively have a prosperous economy. Because discussing the economy without thinking about public-private partnership can only be said to be counterproductive.
Yeah. Mr. Kanwa, how often do you think the government should talk about should actually redesign our Naira, and so that, because it seemed to have brought about, a positive effect. I mean, the conversation about redesigning it and what has led to, what has led to the strengthening of the Naira. How often do you think a country should do this?
Between 5 to 10 years is recommended, and I think it's a policy that is what's the essence. The only challenge, just like in every shade within the country, where we know the import of politics influencing several decisions. So, part of the apprehension that citizens actually had was, are you sure this is not in any way political? It's really for, the projected aim of attaining economic sustainability and ensuring that the holders of currency are actually, brought to loss. And I think that is consistent with global best practices. And if we do that, then of course, if someone is holding the currency, you know that you are doing that at your own risk.
Right.
Because once in a while, when Naira redesign comes up, you stand at a loss if you don't do anything to really pull through those funds. But of course, we know that, some of these persons also have different options of money laundering, which is you want to launder money, you want to dry clean dirty money, right? So that when people see it through other legal means, they may not even, identify that this is from an illegal source. So that means also that the government also needs to also heighten up its game, right, to ensure that our anti-money laundering laws are very much fully implemented. Because one thing about Nigerian citizens are very smart. So when you want to, catch some people this way, they have to outsmart you by leveraging other channels. And government has to be all-encompassing, think it through, and then act right.
All right, then.
Kindly enlighten me, because I feel that the Naira redesign is a temporary gain. What we're gaining now with the Naira recovering is temporary. Because as soon as people dollarize whatever they've kept, things just go back to normal. How can we ensure that these black market rates and the real rates of the dollar conform? At least they're closer than that. The gap is just too wide. And how can that prevent the corruption that my conspiracy thoughts are bringing?
I think this is where really political will comes in, and then being consistent with some of administrative reforms we've seen CBN. And we know sometime last year the CBN came up with a policy, because before now, of course, the BDCs were entitled to $20,000 weekly from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And we know that these BDCs, which are littered all over Nigeria, about 5,000 of them, that only about 200 operators really have multiple outlets. Now, the bad side of it is that the dollars that would have been made available through the banks to be able to interrogate customers that actually have bank accounts, have their monies in the bank, and if the government choose to give out the dollars to them, the government can actually deduct that from their accounts. With that, you discover that the issue of having too many unbanked monies, unbanked Nigerians will not actually be there. So I think the central bank must do the needful. There's already extant policies available. All we just need is the enforcement, the insistence, do the right thing, channel it through the official means.
All right.
Let only those that have genuine businesses and need of dollars come for it, and with that will be much regulated.
Let me go on a quick break, sir. When we come back, we're going to dig further into this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's your view. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail, or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So,
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have Mr. Okemwe with us. Sir, are you still there?
Yes.
So one of the questions I'd like to ask, because one of the reasons why I like this show is that we try to ask layman questions so that the average Nigerian can understand. Many people don't understand why we have a bureau de change. Why is CBN giving them money? Because if the idea is the banks should be the custodian of dollars, and there's a parallel market, could you help us understand, could you take us back to the beginning? Why was bureau de change created? And do we think technology, the fact that we've currently evolved, can change the need for bureau de change, where we can actually access dollars exclusively via the banks?
Okay, yeah, I think even for nations like Nigeria that have a mission to strengthen its currency, the greater the regulation, the better for the country. So having said that, the essence of the bureau de change is actually where citizens, like when you visit some nations, you could actually let me use Switzerland as an instance. You have the SBB, which is controlled by the government. You can actually walk into the platform. They are the same people that manage the transport system. Like a staff, maybe you brought in dollars into the country and you want to change it to the Swiss francs, then you can do that with a bureau de change. But of course it's regulated. And the difference, the percentage difference is oftentimes less than 2%. But in our own instance, two things that makes it counterproductive. There is less of regulation, and then two, the system is also empowered by the government. So why would the government want to keep funding a process it has little interest to regulate? It's just maybe in the deregulation of the downstream sector. If the government say we are hands off, right? But you still find a way to still subsidize the sector, then that automatically becomes counterproductive as long as economic policies is concerned. So I think the essence of the bureau de change has always been people can easily access and exchange wherever they are without necessarily going to bank. And it's usually positioned as strategic places in many other countries.
Mr. Okemwe, please quickly add, this regular policies that creates scarcity of that dollar and how it profits a few, operators within this sector that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think, and that is where the issue comes, because if you are talking about just 200 persons registered, several outlets, and then government is, giving them money all of the time, and there's no regulation to say that you must not under whatever condition, because what I think would be regulation, if the government is saying the parallel market is illegal, then clamp down on the parallel market completely.
Exactly.
If you are saying we are going to allow that to coexist, right, with the official market, then you must be able to regulate it in such a way that under whatever condition, is either you use the margin, price margin, of saying it must not be more than 100 naira difference, or in terms of percentage, and that will mean some regulation, because the market is so uncertain, so precarious. You can't even predict it. That you could wake up today and then you see on the official market, and you see one of the things where this is really costing Nigerians, because the common man will actually be wondering, how does all of this, do I travel, what do I need dollars for, and all the rest of it. But two things. For Nigerians that travel, we quite agree that at the moment, buying international flights, right? The airfares for international trip, you can no longer do that in naira. Many of them insist you do that in dollars. So if you don't have money in your domiciliary account, then you have to go through an agent, right? And the cost now that you buy at an agent, the cost that you buy from the agent, it's very outrageous. As a matter of fact, from my calculations, because I looked at, I just made a trip recently, and on the website of the airline, it was showing about less than $1,000. which like when you convert to Nigerian naira based on official rate, should be less than 400,000, right? At the official rates as at then. But then the airline, the agent was selling at almost 800,000, right? And we know that the Minister of Aviation has come up to say that all airlines in Nigeria must make their sales in our own local currency, which is expected. I mean, you don't go to any nation and be selling in another nation's currency. That would be like dollarization. But guess what? Why the government could not have that moral right to insist on that and to insist that it is implemented is simply because many of these companies, the money they have made over the years, there's no dollar to repatriate their funds.
Yeah.
The CBN has not got enough dollar to enable them to repatriate their funds back to their country. So how can you be telling somebody, I will beat you, but don't cry at the same time? So if we actually have enough dollars and enough of it, and then people doing businesses, foreign businesses operating in Nigeria soil, have enough dollars to repatriate funds, most of this hyperinflation we witness here and there in Nigeria will not be the case.
Right. So, sir, Mr. Okenwa, what do you think we can do as a nation, like a deliberate act, to ensure that we begin to strengthen the naira? Because there are countries that you travel to, they don't pay so much attention to dollars. It's because if you come in as a foreigner, you have to change it to, there are some stores you go to, you can't even pay in dollars. As a foreigner, you have to change it to their local currency. And by the time you check the differential between the dollar and the local currency, it's just very minimal. So what do you think we can begin to do as a nation? Say, let's give ourselves 5 years to 10 years so that we can have supremacy of the naira. If you're coming in and you're doing business here, you are going to be doing business with the naira. What do you think we can do as a country?
And let me just add, it's sort of a similar question, so you don't have to hear it all over again. Would you, would you say that the process of strengthening the naira is solely about political will, or is it really about our tastes, you know, as Nigerians for foreign things?
It's entirely a function of political will, because when you talk about our taste, I mean, as citizens, we are modeling after our leaders. If the lead, including medical tourism, I mean, you can't hear any leader take delight in Nigeria that, oh, I'm based in Kogi and I went to Lagos for holidays. I mean, that's like a common conversation abroad, right? You could hear Trump then, he say, I want to go to this city or to this state in America for holidays. But I mean, which Nigerian leader would do that? You know, there could even be rumors that probably he has gone bankrupt. So we actually take delight in saying, oh, I've gone to this country, I've gone to this top destination, and the so-called global destinations. So I think the strategy actually in strengthening the naira would be, what is our strategy to earn hard currencies? Those hard currencies, we're actually using our weaker ones to chase at the moment, making it even weaker, further weaker. What can we do to make foreigners bring in their currency into Nigeria? And with that, we can have enough. And part of it, of course, will mean, is there anything in Nigeria that is worth celebrating to the extent that we can leverage on one of the biggest industries that bring earnings to countries, and that is, of course, tourism potentials. And Nigeria have enormous potentials for tourism. So people just get into your country and they want to spend, they pay hotel bills, they pay for flights, and of course, government has the taxes associated with this flight. They eat the food on your street, attend shows, and you are earning currencies. And then you now also talk about the things you are producing in exchange. And you know why we need to up our game? You know, sometimes we just talk about agriculture and all the rest of it. Yes, agriculture is very important. But guess what? Since the economy has to do about exchange, if you have like maybe America giving you just a rifle, do you know how many cocoa you will gather just in exchange of one rifle? Or America want to supply you one flight or one vehicle just in exchange of many produce. It will require like almost all the whole villagers, you know, who are into farming to be able to meet that balance of trade. So government needs like a strategy to ensure that in technology we are earning, in tourism we are earning, some of these emerging industries, even aviation. Yes, we host, several flights over 3 international flights, making money from Nigerian own soil. How can we also make money from their own soil and also convening largely our citizens to top destinations that they choose to go? Why must it be like, having dependent entirely on other nations to do that for us?
Right.
And then also look at what has it actually made it come. This one is very important. Counterproductive all these years is that when we even earn the hard currency by selling our crude oil, we still use the hard currency to buy a little of the refined product. And the government is even subsidizing it. So you can imagine. So you even the major source that you earn the hard currency, you still spend it through that source to get the so I think that over the years we've actually had counterproductive economic policies.
Thank you very much.
Political will we actually have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okewa. I think you've been able to educate our viewers a bit on this. I think generally what we need to do, as you have said, we need to increase our productivity as a nation. And I think it's important that Nigerians see that the more we earn dollars, maybe the bureau de change will now become almost insignificant because you can actually find the dollar in the banks. But currently we don't. So that's why the demand for the bureau de change is quite high. As we go into the elections, it's important that Nigerians know the right questions to ask your candidate. Because sometimes they say, I don't want to build bridges, we need hospitals, we need this. They will say it. But how are you going to get the money to do it? These are the real conversations we're going to have. So hopefully we can get more enlightened and know exactly what they're going to do to make Nigeria better. Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to another hot topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics. And you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's Your View. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, The pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's Your View. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind?
Thanks for staying with us. So according to reports, Nigeria is currently on the verge of having a population explosion, as about to be hitting over 200 million population by 2050. Family planning has been identified as a way to slow down this increased population and reduce the high maternity and child mortality rate. So hopefully they're saying that family planning is what we need to reduce this huge number we're expecting. What are your thoughts on the Nigerian population increase? Do you feel that we should implement some of the policies other countries have done in the past? I know we've discussed this before at some point, but it's important for us to bring it to the fore again, because we hear at some point that we'll be having another census coming up. Do you think Nigerians should be made to choose a maximum number, or to be appointed a maximum number of children to have? Or do you think we still have to increase the infrastructure and social amenities available so that we can at least meet the demands that are coming? What are your thoughts on this overpopulation? 08127053687 is the number to call. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Auntie, let me start with you, because you always say one come off follow more. So let me start with you. Yeah, now you always say that. Because the truth is that, I think there was a report recently, I think it was the BBC or maybe the United Nations, saying that we are actually we're exploding. By 2050, we might not be able to contain the population that we're dealing with. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so you don't assume that there's no population regulation happening presently as Guyana?
Well, I don't know if you do.
There's none on paper.
Yes.
But it's only for the unwise. Okay. Yes, it's, as we are now, there's population control.
Because of economic reasons, right?
This government that we have now, they have left us to use our sense. I use our tongue to count the teeth. It's our mouth. If you don't know how to use your tongue, count it right now at this present condition, it's like something's wrong with you.
It's parable.
It's parable.
Use your tongue to count teeth.
Use your tongue. It's tongue you use to count. You cannot use your hand. It's wise.
Although you can use your finger and you can use the toothpick.
But the wise thing
but
is to use your tongue and count your teeth.
Okay, go ahead.
In this present condition now, it's what you can carry and run. And you born. In the economy now, it's only what you can hold like this, like handbag. If you owe extra, you will definitely lose one. In this economy now, there's population control happening. That's my personal...
Okay, so you feel it's already happening even without government policy?
It's happening. It's happening. We're looking at secondary school now. I went school hunting. I sat Oga down. You need to change your job. Why need to find an extra job? Because the choice of schools we want, and we will pay. We will pay, yes. We will pay very well, very highly. And so imagine that I had another extra bag everywhere running around. You will think twice. So in this present economy now, anybody you see having kids irresponsibly is a very unwise person.
Let me crack you a joke. So as you said, secondary school, I'm also at that point where we are looking for secondary school. And there's this really school I really want. It's really expensive. And I feel that, Brown, now we can put money together. So in my own head, we can afford to pay this for this first child. He said, Auntie,
how about the other?
There are 3 more. When he now calculated how much that figure with times 4, my brain readjusted that we cannot afford this school. You know, for now, because obviously it's expensive. So just like you said,
because you are in the category of the wise. Just like she said, wise people are now counting the numbers. They're looking at their purse, they're looking at the economy, they're asking themselves questions. They're looking at even their emotional capacity to handle plenty children at the same time. You know, our parents did not consider that one at all. So you are in the category of the wise. Unfortunately, majority of the population are not in that category. And so I still hear people planning to have children to keep the burden on their children. So make a bonum. Now you know be a da. Now you go take care of her. Now you go train her. I still have people around me making those sort of conversations. I still have those. I still have people who don't care. You know from the beginning that this marriage is not going to work out. They're already beating you in the relationship. And before I finish even looking at you to say, maybe I want to give you small advice that you're not going to pay for. You don't get bele. And the next thing, Auntie BC, hey, I didn't know when he entered. How can you not know when he entered? How can you not know? So there's still a group of people who are not even projecting into the future. They are not planning for the children they are going to have. And we have majority of that sect in Nigeria. But what I'm worried about is, let's not be carried away with influences from the West. They are passing a lot of... do your population like this, count your population, because they are afraid that somehow they'll be the one to bear the burden. And so they are, churning out contraceptives. Just take this, just take that for this family planning. I am worried that Nigeria is a country that is young. Nigeria should be allowed to blossom at its pace. We just know that the government has to double up so that we can, try as much as possible to curtail with infrastructure and, positioning. We can do that. Let's not allow other countries determine for us that you people, you're getting too much, or they're always screaming in our ears, you're getting too much, control yourself, because they're afraid that we will come and overpower their workforce. So let's ignore them and look within ourselves. The people we have right now, if we empower them properly, they will be in the category of the wise that will do their family planning and population control.
Let me come to you, Mariam, because we say, I think even our last guest was saying something about we look at we do what our leaders do, right? We mirror their acts. So some rich folks there have a lot of kids, 5, 6 kids. Hey, I can afford it. And I know a few rch people that they feel that they have 10 children and they have the capacity to take care. Sure. And that rich man has a driver who feels like, me 2 years, I'm earning more money here, or has somebody who feels that I can. So they're mirroring their bosses, and they're also having more children. So should these people who can afford begin to readjust their tastes for having multiple children, knowing that their act is being mirrored by even those who are working with them, because those can't afford.
I hear you, but if we're to look at data tends to say that most people who are more affluent, educated, exposed, tend to have less children than those who are not. And so, like, for the population increase in the Western and developed countries is mainly because, they're living longer. They're having less children, they're living longer, there's medicine, there's reduced child mortality rates, in those sort of countries. What I think is happening with us is, as we say, especially here in Nigeria, we have a very young population. This young population, they are going to be, what else do we do? Get married, you have children.
Children.
Yes, but I don't don't believe that we're having more children. I mean, so I don't believe that our population is just largely because we're having more children. I think it's really because we are a young population. I mean, we're young. The average age is quite young, and we're having children. So I don't think that there used to be a time I'll be in school with classmates that they'll say there are 10 children from the same mother, 15, 14. I don't hear that anymore. The most I've heard is Mariah, who has 4 children. Do you understand? Like, that is usually the highest these days. So it's just that because it's a young I'm sorry, because it's a young population, it just seems that way. And concerning education, which is family planning education, to tell you the truth, I think we have gotten that, you know, the sort of people, because my mom worked in a hospital, I have been privy to some of the conversations she used to have, especially with, like, you know, the not really educated communities, and they're very aware of family planning, of protecting, you know, giving themselves time to heal, spacing their children. Is a lot different now. Yes, we have culturally where people believe, oh, you should have your children, you should not count your children. But if we were to look around more, if we were to look around and draw like a data, there are more people that understand that, you know, family planning is important. But we just have a population of very young people who are going to be getting married and having children. And the only way that we can work on it is now policies. Do we have jobs? See, insecurity is one of our biggest issues. It's not only about, and our overpopulation is mostly in urban areas. Everybody's moving away from the villages, from where they are working on the farms, to Lagos, to Port Harcourt, to Abuja. We're all here, you know, struggling, living in tiny houses. Meanwhile, if we can have widespread employment, education all across the country, I don't think that the effect of that population explosion, as they will call it, will be
You're going to break
so
down.
negative on us like that.
I was going to add the part of, because religion too. Religion allows you to marry 4 wives. Now, that 4 wives, each of them will have 4, let's say in fact 4 children. Times 4, let's just say 4 children.
Is it now?
Times 4. We'll talk about this when we come back. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's your view. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities. right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table. So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail, or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
So we're still discussing population, and part of this conversation is also reviewing our beliefs, our culture, and probably, some of the holy books that we have today. As we modernize, do you think even when a religion says you can have 4 wives or maximum of 4 wives, doesn't insist on 5 wives, but do you think we should also go back where our imams and maybe our religious leaders, our prophets, are saying, okay, yes, you can do maximum, but you must not do more than this number. Each wife cannot have more than 2 children. Is it possible? I mean, just let me come to you, Nima. It's just, just a conversation.
In the countries where there are more Muslims than Nigeria and even Saudi Arabia, I think they've regulated polygamy, they've regulated childbearing, they've regulated based on the economics. Indonesia, I think, they've regulated like that. And I'm trying to be sure if it's Malaysia or Indonesia, the laws I read sometimes back. But when it comes to religion, religion has perfectly planned, let's multiply.
That's Islam.
And, okay.
Even Christianity says multiply and replenish the world.
Liver.
That was when the world
I used a general word. I did not quote a verse. I said religion, yes. And it has also regulated what the population growth would be. What is our government's plan with this, our population, beyond telling the Chinese and the Japanese? Africa is a huge market. Nigeria's population is a huge market. Beyond that, what are we doing with this, our population? We have a large workforce. The largest percentage of our population are youth, young people. What are we doing? How are we utilizing that for our own economic growth? Beyond telling the world, huge market in Africa, what the most populous nation. Beyond
Consumption market.
We know how other countries are using theirs. In China now, they give every young inventor grants. They will produce something that cannot survive 2 months. They will send it to Nigeria. We will buy blender. We own it twice like this. Put them the thing off. You carry Shalaba, they don't have the parts. They don't know how to fix because it was created in a school. Those people are utilizing their population. SO and God cannot regulate the number of products that are coming there that are so substandard that are coming here from that huge market. But their government is doing something about the population. What exactly are we doing here before we go religion? Because religion will solve the problem. He said, go into the world and multiply. And the Prophet Islam said, give birth so that the population will be huge and we will not be outnumbered. And you use your numbers positively. Waiting government won't use the numbers for. That's the problem.
Go into the world and multiply was when the world was empty.
Who tell you say empty before?
Creation,
no, now from time they bomb
at the time, yes, now it was in Genesis. At that time, sisters were marrying brothers because they needed to just populate. Now we don't overpopulate. Yes, now read your scriptures. We don't overpopulate. So that go ye into the world and multiply does not hold water.
Are you saying we should remove some parts of the Bible?
No, I'm not saying you should remove it. Because you use your tongue.
The word of God is forever.
Listen now,
today,
doesn't necessarily mean you have to take it literally. You cannot multiply in your productivity. because you have multiplied enough in your physicality. You have plenty people now. So go into production, go into mechanized farming, go into industrialization, go into all of those things. That's part of, I'm telling you, that's part of production. Yeah. When God gives you a word, he expects you to use your own knowledge and intellect to interpret according. See, every word is given for a time and a season. We must not forget that. So let's not stop quoting because you have 17 children, go into the word and multiply. After multiplying, you leave it for other people to be training.
But do you know that it was when we went into the world that we were able to preach the gospel, and the gospel was able to reach Africa because they went into the world.
Now we have technology. We don't need human beings.
Thank you.
What are you saying?
This cup of elder.
We should come back.
Elder Dele, good morning. Are you there?
Thank you very much.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
I'm the first caller.
StarTimes.
Thank you. This is my first time to call you. Anyway, I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
This is a statement of truth. May God bless you guys for you to call from time to time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So I am worried that they are projecting a lot of fear. Can they allow us? Can they allow us go within and think of the solutions that we can actually generate ourselves? Can our people begin to educate those ones we feel who do not understand? I know there are a lot of civil societies who go into these villages to educate women on, family planning.
Let me pause you for a second. I want to understand where Nima is coming from and where you're coming from.
Okay. Because like he's agreeing with me.
Are we, no. I want to understand. Are we saying that we shouldn't stop the population, but make the population useful?
Yes.
So you're saying we can't stop procreation.
Yes.
Because people will have as many as they want. But now government must know how to use it.
Yes.
But we see other countries that put a policy to reduce it. I think I can't continue to fix this country if you are all overpopulated.
It's like the climate change
argument. To slow down with the population. What I'm fixing, can we do that like China did?
So it's really silly of us to keep blaming the Western world and saying that they are instilling fear into us, because it's not, there's nobody that's putting a gun to our heads. They would list out the things that we are going through. They would say that, yes, you have your population, and then the resources that you have compared to your population, the amount of money that you earn as a country compared to your population. That's all they're saying. So it's now for you to decide what you want to do with your population. We have heard of India. I hear that in India, everybody is into tech. I mean, all over the world now, Indians are, leading in different things that has to do with tech, and currencies and things like that, because they are constantly, investing in that part of education. We have heard of China. We've heard, I don't know how well it works for them, where they ask that there's a limited number of children that you can have. But we saw that this was a country that took the time to work on the population, on what they can provide for themselves, for their economy to grow. See, the only time we complain about population explosion is because is when it's compared to the resources. If we're not doing anything, if all we're doing is giving birth to children and waiting to consume whatever it is that people are giving, foreign countries are producing, waiting to raise dollar anyhow we can raise dollar so that we can constantly consume, of course it will be a problem. But nobody is the one that's stopping Nigeria from taking the right steps towards improving our economy, towards properly utilizing this strength that we have. Population can be a strength. This strength that we have to make sure that we have a better and more skilled workforce. Do you understand? We have people who are going to medicine, to technology, and just and in that way we'll see that the population is not a problem because we're using our population well.
Thank you. I rest my case because you have landed where all of us are. The issue is now that let's just put clarity to everything.
Yeah.
The solution to the 200 million Nigerian and the possible surge in our numbers is not AI, but it's not to count your number of children. It is you that will count, not for government to regulate. What government's concern should be is the way they did that data and package it and sold it for the investors to come and say the numbers are here, cheap labor is here, this one is here, that one is here, huge market is here. Package that data, sit in your thinking rooms, carry your think tank groups and put them together and think of how you can turn that number to a growth in your economy. You can start to say, okay, if excess number of children do not have parents or orphans, this group of children, we are pushing them to tech. We are pushing you. We want to be the world leaders in this, what leaders in that. The way you are seeing other countries,
so nice
because
when you say
the India you are talking about, they still have a very huge number of poverty. Of people below in poverty with all these policies. So we should start working.
This, but even ordinary Lagos, small Lagos is having that population because people are coming into it.
Many have talked about urban.
Our hospitals are overcrowded. Everywhere you go there, you're lining up because people are coming every day.
The America of Nigeria.
So the point is that regardless, we need to utilize that population. But at the same time, I think there should be a control. Somebody has to control somehow. You can't just leave it to discretion of people to just have as many children as they choose.
And we need to help the educated ones to control. We need to talk to them. We need to teach them.
Because it's Tuesday, it's our health Tuesday. We have to bring in a health topic. So our guest is waiting. But that's all we can take on this. But really, a population control, I think, as according to NIMA, we the people already controlling ourselves because the economy is already telling us indirectly to control. Either way, we can also better utilize the population because, hey, let's see the benefits in it and make the best of it. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring in our doctor to talk on diabetes. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Come closer. A little bit more. Perfect. I have exciting news for you. You asked for it and you got it. Your favorite breakfast show, Your View, will be going to 2 hours. We're going to have in-depth analysis of the newspaper review and more conversations on the hot topics. The ladies of Your View and I will be stirring up our guests to get in-depth into all the various topics, and you, our viewers, will have the opportunity to call in and share your views. After all, it's Your View. Join us on Your View, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a fantastic conversation. Don't miss it.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail. Or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs, some very deep topical issues, and last but not the least, a healthy dose of grumbling of those we love to hate. And yes, you guessed it, women. So, if you catch the drift, then you're onto something. We will provide you with the right insights into most of your curiosities, right here within this beautiful cocktail we call the Black Table.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
So, have you ever wondered what happens behind the curtains of a man's mind? Or perhaps you're one of those who wonder what men talk about when they gather. Well, here goes. Imagine what it takes to put together the perfect cocktail, or maybe mocktail. We need a bit of sports, a sprinkling of current affairs,
Thanks for staying with us. Yesterday, November 14th, was World Diabetes Day, and this year's theme is Education to Protect Tomorrow. According to reports, over 10 million Nigerians have diabetes, and it has killed more than so many people than COVID-19 or even cancer. The reason why we discuss this every single year, we touch on diabetes, and it's important because we can never stop talking about health issues. With us today is a chief consultant, endocrinologist and diabetologist, Federal Medical Center, Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria Center Coordinator. We have with us Dr. Adeshina Olubi Fidelis. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Have you, sir. Diabetes, as I said, we discuss this every year, but it's always important to always bring it back to the fore because Nigerians must not forget on how to ensure they are able to take care of themselves in this condition. Could you tell us again, what is diabetes and how do people get it?
Okay, thank you. Actually, the full name is diabetes mellitus. The diabetes means a siphon because of how people who have diabetes, the symptoms they come with. Water comes in at one end, comes out at the other end. That's diabetes. You're acting like a siphon.
Okay.
You're drinking water, you're urinating, you're drinking water, you're urinating. And the other word, mellitus, means as sweet as honey. If you taste the urine of the individual with diabetes, it is as sweet as honey.
Wow.
So that's where the name comes from, diabetes mellitus.
Okay.
So that is diabetes. And diabetes is said to occur when the blood sugar level of an individual rises so high that it gets to a level it starts coming out in the urine. Normally, we have a hormone, a sort of chemical produced by the body that controls the blood sugar level. It is called insulin. So when this insulin is not produced at all, or when it is produced and it is no longer effective, then we have diabetes.
So we have two types. We've always heard that some people are born with one, a type 1, and then there's a type 2, which has to do with nutrition. Could you please?
Okay, yes, more than 2 types, really. We have what we call type 1 diabetes. We tend to see this in young people, although we can also see it in adults. That one occurs when the body's immune system recognizes the pancreas. It is the pancreas, the human pancreas, a portion of it that produces the insulin. But when the human immune system sees the pancreas as a foreign object, it begins to attack it. The function of the immune system is, if a bacteria enters into the body, bacteria enter into the body, the immune system is supposed to counter it.
Yeah.
But when the body starts attacking itself, as it occurs in type 1 diabetes, then the insulin-producing cells are destroyed. That's type 1 diabetes. In type 2 diabetes, which is the commoner type, that forms about 90% of all people with diabetes. We tend to see this in adults, but we are now also seeing it in children. That has to do with obesity.
Right.
The bigger you are, the more overweight you are, if you're obese, there's a high risk that such an individual will develop type 2 diabetes. Okay. And then we have what we call the other specific types of diabetes. You see this in people who abuse alcohol. Alcohol directly damages the pancreas, damages the liver. You have people who have other conditions. Let's say there's an individual with hypertension that you are treating. There are certain drugs that we can use to treat hypertension, that can trigger diabetes. Wow. I mean, there are some drugs that people are abusing. Quite a lot of Nigerians abusing those steroids. Oh, I have arthritis. They said I should go and use prednisolone. If you use prednisolone, yes, the pain of the arthritis will go, but you're going to acquire diabetes, you're going to acquire hypertension. Wow. And you see people abusing these drugs. And then the other type, it's we say it's hyperglycemia, and that means high blood sugar that we first see in pregnancy. So in the pregnant woman wasn't diabetic prior to pregnancy, gets pregnant, can develop diabetes. But we also know that women who had diabetes prior to pregnancy, the diabetes can also continue in pregnancy.
Okay, doctor. I've seen people who were able to come out of the type 2, survive the type 2 diabetes by a change of either diet and some other things. Yeah. And that is the most prevalent type of diabetes now. Yes, so tell us, for people who are struggling, who are still testing and are a bit in between, or they have been diagnosed of type 2 diabetes, what are some of the things they can begin to do to probably reduce or take it out entirely? Yes.
Type 2 diabetes sometimes is referred to as a disease of affluence. That's okay if you're rich and you're living it up and
the soft life.
You're not watching your diet, you're not exercising, you're adding so much weight, then you may develop diabetes, type 2. So we know that type 2 diabetes you can prevent. We just don't move from normal blood sugar to diabetes. There's always a midpoint, which is reversible. We call that pre-diabetes. That's why we encourage people, please, once in 6 months, once in a year, check your blood sugar level. Because if we get you at pre-diabetes, all we need to tell you is, please, shed some weight, please start exercising, please start watching your diet, go back to that traditional African diet, high in vegetable, high in nuts, rather than all these energy-dense foods of pastries and all that. So if people do make such changes to their lifestyle, start walking, we say, please ensure that at least in a day you take 10,000 steps. But if you do come out from your house, you get into your car, you get to your office, from your office, take the lift. I got to the train station yesterday. I would say 90% of those of us that are disembarked got on the escalator. Only about 10% of us went up the steps. I mean, such opportunities, you should be walking. Okay. I mean, those are steps to take too.
Is diabetes necessarily linked? Because, you talked about the affluent condition that it was now. Yeah. Is it necessarily linked to overweight? And is it, you also mentioned that, the pancreas is a great source of the balance or imbalance that, causes diabetes. So what exactly would you say, aside alcohol that you said was a direct, are there any other kind of food that affects the pancreas in such a way that, because in our regular diet, things that are common amongst us that you should be careful of?
Okay, we talk about sugar a lot, and I think I need to explain the causal relationship between sugar and diabetes. The truth of the matter is that you can eat all the sugar in the world and you may not develop diabetes. And you may not have touched sugar in your life and you may develop diabetes. So we talk about what we call risk factors. Why do people develop diabetes? Number one is heredity. I mean, you see that we resemble our parents. So if there's a father who has diabetes, you have inherited your genes from your parents. So you are also likely to develop diabetes if, there's a big if you do not watch your lifestyle. The fact that you come you inherited such genes does not mean that you must develop diabetes. No.
Okay.
It is if you have a gene and then you give an enabling environment to that gene to manifest itself, then you will
Let's talk about maintenance, because Nigerians are always fearful. You know, abroad you have insurance that can always sort it out. Here, people are scared of how much it costs to maintain this disease or to even manage it. So they rather just, what I don't know will not hurt me. So even though I might have it, but I just rather stay home. It's expensive to manage diabetes.
Yes, and that is what we're trying to get out. And thank you for a platform like this. It is expensive to manage diabetes in Nigeria. As you said, health insurance, it's only about 4% of people who are on it. And so majority of Nigerians who have diabetes have to pay out of pocket. And it's unfortunate, the type of medicine we practice, the type of drugs we prescribe, it is what you can afford. There are very good modern drugs to treat diabetes. There are certain injections that, you just need to take 4 times in a month. It will help control your diabetes. It will help control your weight. But each pen, I brought a sample here, will cost you 155,000 naira.
Each injection?
Yes, that's a modern medication.
You gotta take that 4 times a month?
4 times a month. So, no, the whole pen, 4 times a month, yes. How many Nigerians? The vast majority of the people we see with diabetes, type 2 diabetes and that, are elderly retirees. So you as a doctor, you get frustrated at times that, so what type of drug are you going to prescribe? I mean, they tell you, I've not received my pension in 3 months, so are you going to prescribe an injection of 100? And so you will go back to those old drugs that have more side effects. Yes, they are efficacious, but you know, we do have issues like that. So it is expensive. Look at a vial of insulin. For those who require insulin to control it's averagely it's about 6,000 naira. And depending on the dose the individual is on, may require about 2 in a month. And diabetes doesn't come alone. It tends to come with hypertension. It tends to come with abnormal cholesterol levels. So you have these individuals on drugs to control diabetes, drugs to control hypertension, drugs to control cholesterol level, drugs to prevent a stroke, drugs to prevent kidney failure from the diabetes. So
it's kind of scary getting into Nigeria, especially.
Yes. So it frustrates you as a doctor that, this individual, what can he or she afford?
See, you've just scared us. And, you know, as Mariah said, getting old in Nigeria. And so the theme for this year is access to education.
Yes.
So we need, and a lot of times when we see our elderly ones, we see them taking all sorts of drugs. And this, what you have just said, explains it. Is there any sort of access to education that one can get in your youth or before you are an old retiree that can help you in your old age so you're not, you know, going to hospital and taking all these drugs?
Yes. Education to protect tomorrow. I mean, that's our theme this year. We do know diabetes is a condition that the more the individual with diabetes knows about the condition, the better the outcome.
Okay.
Because most of the time you are your own doctor as an individual with diabetes. At most you see your doctor 4 or 5 times a year, but most of the time diabetes is about self-care, the way you care for yourself. So we try to get a lot of information across to the person with diabetes. This is what you should do about your diet. This is what you should do about exercise. So we tell young people from now on, inculcate exercise into your life. If you exercise, you're not likely to go wrong. So people with diabetes should exercise. People without diabetes should exercise. Those who plan our towns and cities and estates, should make a place for people to exercise, to walk safely, you know.
So I want to say something, but I'm just trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want the ladies to back at me for this. But I've always had a theory that a lot of our rich people in Nigeria, maybe they don't know how to expend their money. So some of them have money and they do good work. You know, they'll just say, okay, I'll give you $10 million to internet displaced persons. I'm going to give $10 million. You know, this blanket philanthropic gestures, which are great. But sometimes it seems that the doctors are not articulating the issues properly. So that when we have people who actually want to give, they know where to give. Because imagine if I was a very rich person now, I would like to probably give $1 million to some kind of diabetes organization that can make these injections available for regular Nigerians. So what would you say as a doctor? What is on ground for people who want to give, who want to support diabetes? How can they access to help in this situation?
Yes. In Nigeria, there are a lot of not-for-profit diabetes organizations. Talabi Diabetes Center, as you are aware, we're not-for-profit, and we have done a lot in diabetes care in Ogun State. We got a grant, $100,000 from the World Diabetes Foundation. And what was it for? It was to educate primary healthcare workers on diabetes care, to equip 300 primary healthcare centers in Ogun State with basic diabetes equipment so that people can access diabetes care right there at the primary healthcare center. And primary healthcare center is supposed to be the closest to where people live.
Are the Nigerian-based organizations supporting you?
Yes. We work in conjunction with the Olabisi Onabanjo University. We work in conjunction with the Remo North local government, you know, to bring diabetes care close to. So yes, a lot of, and we have the Diabetes Association of Nigeria. That's the leading not-for-profit organization. I chair the Ogun State chapter.
Is it enough?
No, it's not enough. We welcome more people because there's a whole lot to do. In 2020, from the International Diabetes Federation, the statistics was that 60,000 people, Nigerians, died from diabetes, both diagnosed and undiagnosed. And as you said rightly, about 5 million Nigerians are living with diabetes, diagnosed and undiagnosed.
Kindly tell us. Answer.
So, today being yesterday being the World Diabetes Day, what exactly are your activities that are geared towards this advocacy?
Yes, just like what we're doing here, the platform you've given us, let's get the message across to Nigerians that you may have diabetes and you may not know. You may have no symptoms.
Are there some checks happening presently?
Oh, yes, across the country. Yesterday, all of this week, we're going into hamlets and all over the place, telling people what the symptoms are. Also telling the people that there may be no symptom and you may have diabetes. So please come and check your.
That's even more scary.
Your blood sugar level. And I mean, just a word about diabetes in the pregnant woman. You know, we have seen a lot. And once you see a woman delivering a baby dies. Delivers, baby dies. You know, the Yoruba cosmology is that, it's an abiku. No. It may just be that woman has diabetes. During pregnancy, that baby is in an ocean of sugar. But once it's delivered,
there's no sugar.
There's no sugar. The sugar goes down drastically within 24 hours. The baby, the baby is dead. So we want to tell women like that, once that's noticed, until proven otherwise, that woman has.
We have to wrap up. Yes. I think what I've learned from you today, aside from all the other things you said, is the fact that there are some people that come to your office and you understand and seeing that they cannot afford the kind of drugs that could actually help them cure this.
Maintain.
You have to prescribe something lower. For them, and that is a need. So we always use this platform to express to many people out there, philanthropists out there, that there is a need. Diabetes organizations across Nigeria where we make these drugs available to regular Nigerians who can't afford it. I think that's a noble cause, and I thank you, sir, for coming to share this with us today. We never get tired of every year talking about these diseases because we need more awareness and education on diabetes. That's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.